Hello, everyone. This is psychicmediumtree.com
and around the Mulberry Bush and .com.
Yeah.
I figure if they're listening to this, they've found me somehow.
Oh, good.
That's
good. We hope so.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be discussing
The moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
All things about the moon.
I'm excited, actually. The moon's
Yeah.
one that I've been looking forward to doing something on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moon's fun and beautiful. So tell us a little bit about the moon.
Well, it's been here for 1 million years, right?
Yeah.
And it's a part of us, you know, a part of us and the carbon and the metal that made up the Earth back in the day. A piece of that chunked off and actually became the moon. And we have 2 moons, technically, one that's just cloudy and one that's solid. So the solid one we see, the cloudy one we don't see. But somewhere in the mix of that 1 million years, a little marble came along and hit the big metal one, poof, and it created a cloud, and that's our second moon. The other interesting thing about the moon is in the entire universe, all the things that people have been able to see with telescopes, it's the only moon without a name. All other moons, the moons of Jupiter, which were discovered by Galileo, bam, he instantly gave them deity names. They start discovering moons after that, Uranus, and then that guy gets some moons named after his moons. They all have the same name, moon, which just means object floating around a planet, you know, but ours is the only moon that isn't like Bob the Moon, Joe the Moon.
That's kind of like when every time I've gotten a kitty cat, we just call it Kitty.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Well, and it's a given that we've been calling it the moon since who knows how long.
Yes.
You know, you can even go back to certain languages that are like the roots of English and all of that. And like if we could time travel back and we're looking for words that were similar enough for us to be able to talk to the people we were visiting with, we would just point to that object and say moon, and they would have a very similar word.
And the cool thing is we all see it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it since we were born.
It's true.
Although, I'm going to mention this about light pollution. It's unfortunate that with climate change that there's light pollution. Sometimes it, clouds up where you can't see the stars or the moon.
That is true.
So, yeah.
And there is another problem with our impact on the globe that I do want to cover after we do the song where I talk about the moon, because that's the part I want you to record so I can put that in as part of the show. But that is a dire thing that has happened. Yeah. And to me, it's disturbing, but we'll go into that after the first tune. Now, the first tune here, I thought it was pretty cool. Actually, it's the tune right after this, but this one we'll play first because it's really cool. All right, so ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we have returned from Van Morrison.
Hello, this is Psychic Medium Tree and Mulberry Bush.
So, I did want to do that recording. Can I show my paper moon?
Oh, yeah, do that. Yep. So, what he's going to be showing, which listeners can't see, but is actually like a globe, but it is a globe of the moon.
Of the moon, yeah. Now, I can sort of show them this if we switch me over to camera, and then I can fiddle around with the camera part. Okay. Let me make sure I'm facing the right direction here. I don't want to show you the wrong side. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so tell me about how you go to the Kennedy Space Center.
Down to Canaveral?
Yeah.
I've been down there a number of times already this year. There is a NASA. Let me not do 2 things at once.
Yeah.
There's a NASA museum down there, and they have a rocket garden where you can walk around in the old rockets and some of the new rockets, and they have a Mars rover walk through, and they have the space shuttle Atlantis, and they have giant booster rockets and all kinds of cool stuff. I'm not
Ooh,
gonna
that
lie,
sounds
no, I'll
fun.
turn into a 10-year-old if we're not too careful for a minute.
That
I'm like,
sounds
oh my god, a rocket farm! Not lying.
So tell us how many, like, how often does the moon orbit?
Okay, well here let me get my bearings here with my moon in my hand, and I'm gonna switch over to the camera so you can take a picture of it.
All right.
And then that way I can explain some of this. And
Yeah.
to hear it and to read it, it kind of like doesn't put the reality of it in your brain, I think. And so I think,
but in case somebody's driving, so how are you going to explain?
well, I would say, there we go. Now it should be,
Okay.
is it pointing at me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I would say tune in later when you get to see the video version. So that is the front face of the moon. That's the part that we see every night. The moon revolves around the Earth in what's called a lateral rotation, which means the face of it always faces us. We're not going to ever see this side of the moon. We're just going to see the front face of the moon. And that happens every 27.3 days. The moon is in the exact same spot. So 27.3 days later, exact same spot in relation to where we are. So if you could say, oh, down here in Florida, right here where I saw the moon 27.3 days ago, that's exactly where it was the last time I was there, right? Now here's the disturbing part, and it's because of all the humans on the earth, and it has a lot to do with how we manipulate water in order to have electricity, which causes a lot of different rivers to flow wrong and things like that, and it causes the earth to wobble. So every 27.3 days is relative to seeing the face of the moon, because sometimes the earth revolves slower because we've changed the speed of its rotation, or like the other day we lost a whole second of a day because we revolved wrong. Right, so when that happens, even though the moon, which has been doing exactly what it's been doing without humans on it for the last billion years, we'll see it a little to an angle because we moved slower and then come back in. So in the last 100 years, we've been looking at more of 60% of the moon instead of just the 50% that every human's ever seen ever on this earth. But because we keep messing up our rotation, we get to see about 60% of it, right? So, and I would show you here at the Sea of Tranquility, which is kind of like the nose of the face of the man of the moon, and that's where we landed, and that's Apollo 11's landing, and here's the Sea of Vapors, and the Sea of Rains, and all kinds of cool stuff, but that's the moon, and that's where the video will end.
And the moon is so fascinating. I know that that a lot of people that are into spirituality have moon rituals. So tell us about some of the rituals you've heard of.
You know, that Celtic one.
Yeah.
The one that I don't have a lot of the details memorized
Well, that's
yet
okay,
on,
but there's
the
a Celtic
ritual, but there is
yeah.
a Celtic ritual in regards to a night ceremony for women in a female circle.
I have heard of that one, actually.
And I've actually been in a lunar circle, so but I was a guy, so it was almost similar in that the Celtic tradition. The words that they use for what, like we would say magic, and the person uses magic and that kind of stuff, that was kind of generally only the nuns knew that stuff. You know, it wasn't like the guys came along and been like, yeah, I'm into that nun stuff, I know what the nuns are into. But so the ladies knew a lot of that, with the exception of on occasion there was a not as warrior like druid male,
yeah,
or satyr male, and Odin, who obviously was the most masculine of all the deities, he too had the ability to use Seder, which is the magic systems and the moon magic, and then the ceremonial side of the Wiccan stuff that's tied into the Celtic mythos. So, so you're either going to find in that Wiccan culture that it's females that are doing those moon ceremonies, or a more open-minded male that's accompanying. I have met one male witch that was a part of a Dianic circle, which but man, he was hardcore, definitely as devoted as those girls were about being Dianic witches. Good for them.
Okay.
Good for them. That's what I say.
Well, I know that, there's a lot of rituals with the moon. When the moon is waxing, which is if you take your right hand and make a C from the thumb to the forefinger and you hold it out right, that would be the waxing moon. Which means that the waxing moon, well, okay, let's put it this way. The waxing moon means that if you want something to increase, you're going to want to do the ceremony with the waxing moon. And if you want something to decrease or lose something, perhaps you want to sever ties with a relationship or something, they suggest doing the ritual at the waning moon, which the waning moon would be then take your left hand and hold it out right, because what you're going to see is it's going to go this way. So it's kind of like, like tilted to the left.
The crescent, the way it is on the moon.
Yeah, tilted to the left. So
now, I do know that with cleansing rituals, you do those at a new moon so that there's no light energy coming in, which would be when you don't see the moon. And it's when you don't see the moon officially. Like the light is not shining. Not because the moon isn't there yet. It's just because that's that phase of the moon. That's when you're supposed to do a cleansing.
And set your intentions clearly. Ask only for something that's good for you or for someone else. And stay focused. And they suggest during the rituals to wear all white.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. That
is curious. That's good. I like that.
I do too. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm usually asleep when the moon's out, but
that's okay. It knows you're there. Awesome.
All
right, cool. So, all right, let me go to the next tune, actually. Now, I think if I remember right, this is slowly going to the page that I need to go to.
Okay. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the tarot card, the moon, and what it means. So we encourage callers to call in.
You know what? Something's going on with the phone. It's like not responding.
Should I go ahead and start talking about the tarot
there
card?
It goes.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll learn whatever that is. It's not responding to my request to switch over to the song.
And the moon is basically learning that nothing is what it seems.
Here it goes. Okay.
So
you ready?
We'll begin again as soon as this song finishes.
Here we go. This is the Baltimore. Now, and I can just clip stuff and all that. It's still doing it, and feel it. Feel the phone. It's like 1,000 degrees. Can you feel it?
Yeah, it's hot.
And like under here, it's like. So, and go.
Okay.
Lunacy?
Yes, lunacy.
I could tell you about lunacy.
Okay.
Luna is the Latin word for moon. So back in ancient Greece, that was kind of what when they were pointing at the moon, they would say Luna, and the word lunatic and lunacy comes from that, and the belief that people go crazy during a full moon. And I think that is true. I think more people get in accidents and more people go nuts, and the police 911s and all this other stuff for no reason, really.
It's bizarre.
But it does happen. Yeah.
And statistically, more babies are born on a full moon.
Yeah, it's like, we're circadian already. We are dictated by the cycle of the sun. If we go into a cave and we're taken away from the sun, we start to go cuckoo and stuff, and so I think the same applies to the energy of the moon. You could argue that what would make someone more crazy over the fact that rock floating in space is exactly where it was 2 weeks ago when it wasn't fully lit by the sun, but people aren't quite as crazy when it's not full. So I don't know. I think it has the same effect as the fact that we have a circadian rhythm where we have to have sunlight in order to exist.
And it affects
I think the moon is that way as well. It does.
And it also affects like tsunamis.
Yeah.
So, pretty lunacy.
It is lunacy.
Pretty much lunacy.
Yeah, and I think that it does cause people to go crazy. I think that there are times werewolves and a lot of the magic when it comes to animal transformations and things like that came around when the full moon would come out, because I think there is an energy in the air that's different, like as much as the mass of the entire ocean's water can be swayed by that rock. Well, what makes you think that it doesn't have that kind of like gravitational pressure on you?
For us.
When you go to a chiropractor and they crack your back, you're like, oh, that feels great. Now I feel better. I got all stretched out and stuff. Well, the moon's doing that too. And that's why, sometimes you're like, I feel all lifted up by this powerful force. This is 27 and a half days. What's going on, Yeah. So I think it's a little of that too.
Yeah.
Call me a lunatic if you want.
Okay, that's fun. You can call me one too.
Okay.
So are we gonna play a song or go ahead and read about the moon tarot card of it's by the author of Jessica Wiggin?
I think if we read 2 parts from the book, play the song, and then read the other parts from the book, and then close it out. I think we should be good. All right, so I'll go ahead and start here. And you want me to read the definition of the card itself in reference to the tarot deck?
Right. That would help.
Okay, so the moon card is one of the most complex and confusing in the deck because that is exactly what it represents. When the moon appears, circumstances and people around you tend to not be what they seem to be. There are elements of confusion with things seeming even worse or better than they actually are. This card represents fantasy, illusion, fear, the things we hide or can't clearly see or understand, and sometimes simply the energy of the moon herself. That energy is primal, raw, and forever changing. You cannot rely on it or predict it. I have seen this card show up in many a reading to signal that someone is being lied to, but also when someone is letting their imagination run away with them, for good or for bad. And that is so true.
Yeah.
That big ball of feldspar is cumbersome sometimes. As much as she is pretty and powerful and everything else, she can be wobbly.
Yes.
Wobbly. Yes. Make you crazy.
Yes, and with love, the moon card asks, can you really trust this person, their actions or their words? If things don't feel right or seem off, they probably are. It could also be that you see someone in a light that makes them appear better than what they are. But the flip side is that you don't want to go looking for shadows where there are none. If you expect the worst, it could be self-fulfilling. I like that.
So what you're saying is sometimes it's Romeo and Juliet in the moonlight, and then other times it's like the werewolf, Jason in Thriller.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
That's right.
I understand that too. So let me go ahead and play the next tune, and then we'll do the other portion.
Okay.
Every time I think of the moonlight in Vermont, I think of 2 things. One time when I was driving into White River Junction and I got to see that area for the first time. And then the second time was when me and a friend were trying to get through at 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a blizzard. So one time, moonlight in Vermont, super relaxing. The other time, super stressful.
Oh, I bet.
That is the power of the moon right there.
Yes.
But if it wasn't for the moonlight in Vermont, I wouldn't have made it through that blizzard either. So thankfully it was there.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go ahead and read career work section of the book. All right. If you are pursuing a career in psychology, the arts, or therapy, the moon can be a nod towards that in a work-related reading. Otherwise, it shows up when things around you seem to be in a constant state of flux. Your work environment is unpredictable, or you are getting bogged down by stress and pressure to the point that it is negatively affecting your mental health. The moon also may be signaling to you that someone is behind the scenes trying secretly to sabotage you, your work, and your reputation.
Okay.
So there you go. And I would say for sure the light is getting dim.
Oh, yes. And the moon tarot card, for if you're looking at it in on a personal spiritual level, when it appears, and this is from, again, Jessica Wiggins' book, that is How to Read Tarot, a modern guide. I always have a question if I or my client is seeing things accurately for what they really are. It may not be on purpose, but when the moon appears, something's not right. The card is suggesting to check your environment and yourself and not make any assumptions. You may feel confused or foggy or be unclear about your direction, so no moves should be made at this time. Also, moods, emotions tend to rise and fall and change quickly, where 1 minute one can feel a great whirlwind of change you may later regret. Wait for things to become clearer before proceeding. And then, of course, you can get the moon card reversed. And
moon card reversed.
What does that mean?
Now, can I give some feedback on the personal spiritual about proceeding with caution and stuff like that? That is true.
Yeah.
When I see the moon, I often think of it that way. I was a soldier. You know, I know what it's like to try to have to navigate around in the woods with a gun on your back while you're walking around in the woods with the moonlight. There is a bit of caution when you're out there in the middle of all that. There is a proceed with due diligence. You know what I mean? So I think of that all the time. Anyway, all right. So I'll go into the moon reversed. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The moon reversed. I need some more light here. Speaking of moonlight.
Yeah.
The moon reversed heightens the illusion to the next level, cranking it up to 100%. This is problematic because not only can you still not see something for what it truly is, but now you are also refusing to step into the light and face reality. This form of escapism can be destructive, especially if it involves drugs, alcohol, or active deception. Active deception. That's interesting. That is true.
That's when you get the card reversed.
Yes, right. That is very true. And there's you may finally discover who your enemy is and how they have been working against you all this time.
Oh, wow. Wow, powerful.
Much of a don't walk down that alley feeling right there. I know. When you realize shouldn't be down the alley with this person, that's when you know you got to get out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Caution if you get the moon reversed.
It is so true. Too bad I don't have Mac the Knife as my next tune. That would have been a good one for that. Because that's kind of that. So, all right. So this is our wrap-up song.
Great.
So I guess we can say goodnight to
everyone.
everyone.
The moon is beautiful, and we love the moon.
We do.
So maybe everybody can go home and do a ritual the next
time.
A moon
ritual. We should do one of those. We should do a show with one of those trees.
Awesome.
All right.